Here we go. This is an episode you cannot afford to miss. My guest needs absolutely no introduction. This is a former UFC fighter, but not just a former UFC fighter. He's also a former champion and a current UFC Hall of Famer. We're going to go into his mindset and learn what it takes to be one of the very best and be a true champion.
Hold on to your seats. You're watching Steve Lags Unfiltered. And now, meet your host, Steve Lags.
Here we go. I got Rashad Evans here on the podcast. World champion, UFC fighter, Hall of Famer. How you doing, Rashad?
I'm great, man. How about you?
Oh, amazing. So, we were just talking about spirituality and how it's not necessary to be religious to be spiritual. So you don't have to believe in God necessarily, but that's obviously one way. But we were just talking about finding that spirituality, how important it is. Where do you find spirituality in your life?
It took me a while to really tap into it on a consistent basis. I would pray sometimes and be able to tap into it and things like that. But for me, part of my spiritual process was me actually fighting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And going through what I was going through on a physical basis first. But then as it got closer to the fight, mentally speaking, what I needed to tap into, how was I going to tap into that great mindset that allowed me to go and compete. And since I've retired from fighting, I've had to try to find different ways to tap into that spirituality. And the best way I can say is that I had to tap back into myself. Mm-hmm. I felt as if because I became so fixated on everything on the outside and trying to be this fighter, right. be what everybody thought I was, you get kind of pulled away from yourself. But when I stepped away from fighting and had to have that come to Jesus moment with myself where I was trying to figure out like what I was going to do with the rest of my life.
It's like a new identity.
Pretty much a new identity. Who am I? What was this all about?
Right.
And tapping into myself, going deep inside, I was able to tap into that spiritual place where I felt that I was connected to everything.
Right.
And, being able to do that, I did that through meditation. Mm-hmm. Also, I through psychedelics. Yeah. I would say through psychedelics was probably the biggest way for me to tap into myself because it allowed me to break through the barriers that I was consciously holding,
right,
and go to the places where I didn't really feel consciously comfortable, but at the same time, I needed to go and I needed to really get to that point in order for me to gain the perspective that I needed to get in order to understand myself at a different level.
Yeah, and that's transformational, right?
Oh man, it was so transformational to the point where.
Did you do that alone or you do that with somebody?
When the first time I did it, I did it with a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great group of friends out in Colorado that, we do those kind of journeys together. And
do you do this like outdoors or is this like?
Well, the first one I did was it was the Bufo. It was 5-MeO DMT, and I did that with a group of people, and we were outside when we did that. Mm-hmm. But it all depends on the modality, the medicine in which you're using. Right. You'll either be outside or inside. It all depends on the safety of it all. Because at the end of the day, I was doing this with a practitioner there. But once I had an understanding of how I felt in that space, I understood, what my limits were and how to handle myself in that space.
Oh, so this is like kind of structured and guided. It's not like you just like wing this.
No, it was structured and guided. Yeah, it was definitely structured and guided because I didn't really have an understanding of what that space felt like. And if you don't have an understanding of what that space feels like when you go that far deep in, it will scare the hell out of you.
Oh, just scaring me right now.
Yeah, it will scare you. But like once you get an understanding of what that space feels like when you go that deep, then there's a bit, you feel a bit comfortable and you feel like you can navigate it a little bit more. Just do what the medicine is calling you to do, and what life is really calling us to do. And that is just to let go.
Yeah.
And so much in life, we focus on holding on, being strong. We got to hold on. We got to fight. But life is a lot easier when you just learn to let go.
Right.
And I feel like that's the reoccurring theme that's been teaching us in our whole life. No matter what phase that we go through in our life, it's always been the lesson has been letting go. Like
Right.
you go through your hardest things in life. That transition has always been, am I able to let this go?
Right.
Breaking up with a girlfriend, can I let this go? Getting a divorce, can I let this go? Graduating from college, can I let this go? Retiring from MMA, can I let this go? And just surrender to what is.
Right. So it's like letting go is just moving forward. It's just not like getting caught by it and just accepting it and moving to the next step or next phase.
Yeah, it's an acceptance.
Right.
It's an acceptance, and it's an understanding in that acceptance that
Right.
no matter how the cookie crumbles, you're gonna be all right.
That's right.
No matter if it doesn't go in your favor or it does go in your favor, you're gonna be all right. And it's that understanding of how you're going to be all right that allows you to let go, because you want to hold on because you are afraid that if you don't hold on, then your worst dreams are going to come true. But it's like, even if I do let go and things don't go my way, there's still something in it for me to learn.
Right. That's awesome, because that's really resilience at the end of the day. And so many people struggle with resilience, and they'll avoid doing things because they're afraid to lose and not let go of the loss.
Yes.
Or just move into those next phases, new opportunities in our lives. So that psychedelic experience, is that like a one-day event? Is this a few days or?
Well, for this modality,
now I'm interested.
Yeah. So for this modality, it is it was a 3-day event.
Mm-hmm.
So each and every single time we did it. So we did it the first day. And then after that, we had integration, right? You know, before you do these medicines, it's good to set an intention. So you set an intention before, then you did the medicine, and then you had an integration afterwards. Mm-hmm. And then the next day you did the medicine again, and then you had an integration. But it was all about that integration that for me was the most healing part, because when I come and sit down in a group or in a circle, I have my intentions on what I want to really focus on, what I really want this medicine to really bring out of me, right? And there's a bunch of other people sitting around with you, and they come with their own problems. Mm-hmm. And you hear what everybody says, but there isn't a problem that you haven't experienced in a sense where I can't relate to, right? Because we're all sharing this human experience. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of commonality in that. And even if I didn't sit down with the intent that you sat down, I'm hearing something. Mm-hmm. And me hearing what you're saying, it kind of makes me remember, like, yeah, I can understand that, you know? So when you come out on the other side of your experience and you're talking about what you've been able to glean from that experience from the medicine, I get a sense of understanding too of what you went through. And I'm like, man, that gave me perspective. So now I'm soaking in what you were able to learn from your experience, the medicine taught you. So not only am I getting a benefit from my individual intent of what I wanted to solve, but I'm also getting some, cross-pollination from what you were feeling and what you were going through, and some ways that I'll be able to sort through some of the problems that I had that was similar to what you're going through.
Oh, so that's the benefit of doing it in a group.
That's the benefit.
One of the benefits.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of doing it in a group. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a couple-day thing, and each and every single time that you would do it, you would just learn even more, like, I gotta let go. I gotta let go. And when you get done with the experience, you just feel like you just took 1,000 pounds off your back.
Yeah. I could feel that from you when you walked in the room today.
Yeah, just relax, man. I'm just relaxed. I just enjoy life and just take it for what it is.
Right. But you're still doing great things. It's not like you're not like laid back in the sense that, hey, I just don't do anything anymore. You're still like you're still you're working with UFC still, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you've co-founded a company.
Yeah.
Was Umbro, right?
Umbo.
For the mushrooms, right?
Umbo, yeah.
Yeah. I actually take reishi.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome,
as a supplement.
Yeah,
but
functional mushrooms are awesome.
Yeah. So but you're still so relaxed.
Yeah. I feel like having those goals, right? Being a part of still being able to find something to chase it's part of the sweetness of life.
Right.
Like the secret in life is always having something that makes you feel alive, always having something that is fun to chase. Right. You don't got to take it too serious, but at the end of the day, let it wake you up. Right. Let that excitement of doing it wake you up. And I found some things that allow me to be excited again. And that was part of my transformation, part of me getting on the other side of where I am mentally speaking, part of me being able to, join with Jake Plummer and Dale Jolly to form Umbo, which is a functional mushroom company. And, it was the functional mushrooms that helped me to tap into this other side of myself, tap into just really getting healthy and really getting to the point where I felt my body coming back to me. After years of competing, after years of kind of having a user's relationship with my body,
right.
I finally started to put into my body the love, right? I started to eat better. I started to rest more. I started to, take care of myself in a different way than I wasn't before.
Yeah. So when you get so many questions. So when you got done with that experience, so you get to the other side. Now you start figuring out what that new identity is, right? And then you're talking about taking care of your body and how important that is.
Yeah.
You don't have to be an athlete for that to be important, right?
No, you don't. And that's the thing about it. Like a lot of times people don't realize how important their health is until it's too late. It's something you take for granted. And it's really strange that we do that, right? We do that so unconsciously. We do that just feeling as if like being able to wake up and do the things that we do is a given. This is a gift.
Right.
This is a gift that we're able to wake up and feel well, to be able to do the things that we enjoy doing. So that takes a little bit of honoring, that takes a little bit of reverence, and that takes some sacrifice. And that sacrifice is, making sure you put healthy things into your body,
right.
Making sure you give your body what it needs, because it's not always convenient, but in the long run, it's more beneficial. When it comes down to it, like right now, I'm drinking some water and I'm drinking some spirulina in it, and it's just making sure that I'm feeding my body on a cellular level before I start putting other foods in it that's going to be harder to break down. But I start to make sure that I'm getting the nutrients at a nutrient dense level before I do anything for the day.
Yeah, because a lot of people just focus on how they looking healthy versus actually feeling healthy.
Yeah, and there's a big difference too. Like when you feel healthy, you're so much more happy.
Yes.
The happiness just comes out of you, and it's not even something that you're even trying to do. It's just an expression of feeling well, right? When you feel well, you it's amazing. But versus, looking well, you may look well, but at the same time, you're not really even satisfied the way you look, because you still feel like you can do better. Right. You still feel like you're not presenting yourself the way that you really can, and there's always that aspect of yourself when that's your aim, you look in the mirror and you still can't see how good you look.
Right. Yeah, and I think when you feel better, healthier, you feel better, you're going to see a better version of you too, right? And you're happier with what you see. Yeah. I noticed that the healthier I feel, I don't even know if I look any different, but I feel like I look different, and I'm happier with what I see. So you're just happier. Why do you think people struggle with making the sacrifices that are necessary to be healthier in life?
It's the habits that we have in life. We have our routines that we have in life, and we're creatures of habit. And once we get in a routine, you want easiness, you want convenience. And the convenient life has really made it hard for us to make healthy choices, because everything that is healthy for you is really not really that convenient when you look at all the things that are convenient adjacent to that, right? Yeah. You see all the other things from fast food and all these different things where it's all the work has been done for you. Right. But when you realize that that's the trap of it all, right? That is the trap. Yes. And
they get you used to that.
Yeah. And once you break yourself out of that trap, you realize that, it may be beneficial for me to just maybe not stop here at this fast food stop and just go home and, wait a little bit, maybe 40 more minutes before I can get home, make myself something to eat, and then fully enjoy it, because those are all the steps that you have to do in order to be able to be consistent with being able to put in your body, things that are healthy. Like, do I always eat things that are healthy for me? No, I enjoy myself. I allow myself to have, some sweets and things like that. I don't want to box myself into a cage like that. But for the most part, when it comes down to it, I'm making sure that I'm consistently, putting in healthy things for my body.
When you mentioned routine, talk a little bit about how important that was for you as a fighter and to really be able to compete at a high level and for things to just be more automatic where almost it just like clicks. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah. So when you find yourself in a great routine, it eliminates a lot of the chatter that your mind has.
Right.
Your mind can be the greatest enemy when you're
for sure
when you're getting ready to compete. Your mind will convince you of something that isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only with the routine that you just allow your mind to be quiet and you just kind of find your flow. Because when you're competing, you're trying to not think. And that's what the practice is for. The practice is for you to become automatic, for you to just see and then be able to respond. And that's what the whole training is for. So you got to learn to trust in your training, and you got to learn to quiet your mind down enough to allow the training to come to the forefront where you're just out there reacting. And then when you find yourself out there reacting, you find yourself just getting into this beautiful zone, this beautiful cadence, this beautiful repetition. And then you find yourself free of thought.
Right.
And that to me was the biggest prize about all of fighting, was the fact that I got to have at least 15 to 25 minutes where I thought of absolutely nothing.
Right.
Nothing was going through my mind. There was no me perceiving, me having an afterthought. It was just straight action, straight me living in the moment. Right. And that feeling right there is beyond euphoric. There is no drug that can ever get you that high. There is no drink that you can drink that'll ever get you on that level. So that was the part for me that I always would try to chase. But the key to that was finding a routine.
Right.
And when I found myself the routine that made me feel comfortable, then I started to dive into it when it came close to fight time, because I knew if I didn't, I would allow my mind to just run wild.
So that routine got you focused on what you needed to focus on too, right?
On execution.
Yeah.
And that's what I would focus on. I would just be like, if I'm going to think about something, instead of thinking about how I'm going to feel at, 10 o'clock when the fight's over, what am I going to do after? I didn't think about any of that. Only thing I thought about was executing. Okay, how am I going to move like this? I got to move this way. I got to get into my groove. And for me, it was like a dance. Like as long as I can find myself just finding that rhythm, finding that flow in me, then I can really allow myself to just go to that place. Because then when I got to that flow, I knew it was automatic.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even about me thinking. It was just about me just being.
Right. We've never talked about this before. So I teach a leadership program, and last week we talked about in order to excel as a leader, you need to focus, flow, and then flourish. And the first part is focusing on what you need to train on, what you have control of, not the distractions, but where you're going, what the outcome's going to be. And then then that allows you to next get into a flow where things become automatic. And because of your training, now you're not even thinking about things. You're just automatically doing, you get in the zone, and then you flourish and you become really successful as a leader. And people look, you make it look so easy. You don't even have to think about it.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
That's nuts, man.
Literally a week ago, we just talked about that.
Yeah, and that's
it's no different from being a top performing athlete.
Yeah, that's exactly the flow I would find. That's exactly what I would try to do. I would have an idea of what I wanted for sure. I wanted to get my hand raised.
Yeah,
but how is that going to happen? It doesn't matter. My job wasn't to think of how it was going to happen. It was just to go out there and allow myself to just get into that zone, and it will happen. Right, because winning is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of doing all the other things, which is being able to allow myself to get into the flow. Right. And once I started to understand that winning was a byproduct of something else, I wasn't really focused on a win. I was focused on just of the thing that it was a byproduct of, just on the focus, just on the relaxation, just on me being able to tap into me being me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the beingness that I have in that space. I would have tested my skills against anybody because I knew that I enjoy different facets of the sport that other people didn't enjoy. I used to love for it to get a little bit dirty and a little bit grimy and it get hard. And I would just go to that point and I would just see my opponent start to look for a way out. And I'm just like, got his ass now. And that was, for me, that was the best part of the fight. For me, that was everything.
Right.
Because once I felt as if I got my opponent to really start to second guess himself or have a moment of doubt, that's all I needed.
Right. That's awesome. So when you think about, do you manifest, do you visualize or manifest things you want to happen?
Yes, I'm a big manifester. I like to sit there and I love to just to meditate on it.
So you'll meditate. Like how like walk me through how you do this. Like what's that process for you?
You know, for me, what I like to do is I just like to sit there and will just sit there in stillness and just feel my mind race, right? And it would race and I would just allow it to race. I don't even try to chain it at first. I don't try to chain it at all. And then I'll just start interjecting thoughts of just me having a result that I want, having my hands up.
Right.
I start off with something simple to me just have my hands up. And then I'll just start feeling how that feels to have my hands up, how it feels to have my hands up. And then I'll start thinking about other fights and what I did in those other fights to have my hand raised, and I'll start tapping into that feeling.
Right.
And through that feeling, I was able to start bringing in more and more visualizations of me triumphing and me feeling like I'm triumphing.
You're experiencing it.
And I'm experiencing it and I'm just sitting there, and then pretty soon all the racing thoughts that I had, the monkey mind has kind of settled down a little bit. And now I'm just in the state of me just visualizing nothing but me feeling great, nothing but me having success, and me just being able to compete at a way that I never have before on such a great level. And I always feel like I'm going to do great. I'm going to do great. And I would just feel it because one of the things that happens whenever you're getting ready to compete is the fact that you have these emotional roller coasters, right?
Yeah.
And you can be at the freaking bottom and you'll be at the bottom and you have like this thought that comes off that says, this dude is too big, man. He's going to smack you.
Right.
You're going to be found out. And then you got to, push that away with some positive thoughts, So I would just keep my mind just positive on what I want to do, how I was going to do it. But the biggest part about it was just to feel it.
Right. And, that's amazing because when we talk about here in our organization goals, and if you don't visualize the accomplishment of your goal, there's a couple of reasons why we feel like it's important. And maybe you can share what your thoughts are about this and if this connects to you at such a competitive level. So if you have a goal, say something you want to accomplish in 5 years, if you don't visualize that and experience it in advance, number one, you might do that and realize, oh, that's not that great of experience. Why would I put all this work into something that when I get to there, it isn't going to be worth it? And secondly, wow, that's what it feels like. Now that's the experience. Now all of a sudden I'm in touch with that. It's so much, it's not this, it becomes real for me. And now I'm feeling the experience, and now I'm going to be able to tap into that during the journey here, because every time I hit a setback, all I got to do is put myself into that place where what it feels like when, like you say, raising my hand or whatever that is, that goal you're accomplishing in life. What is it going to feel like? I need to put my mind there right now and get out of the setback I just had right now. Yeah. Or that broken belief that's coming into my mind and telling, we always have that demon that's telling us, oh, you can't do it. We all have that. And it's how much we give it permission to speak to us.
Yes.
Is that similar to is it any different?
No, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And just, you're going to have that demon. You're going to have that part of yourself that brings in the doubt, because the truth of the matter is, that doubt is there to sharpen you. It's not there to dull you. And that's what I had to kind of reconstitute that belief, right? Because I used to have these feelings and I would try to push them away. But then I started to reframe the question, not reframe the question in a sense where it's like, when I get that feeling that I'm going to lose, That's just me telling myself that I'm going to be sharp because it's for me that fear, the fear of it all. It makes me sharp. It puts me on my game, right? Like I used to wake up in the morning. Sometimes I'll be sleeping and I'll get woke up in the morning like 4:30. And I'm like, man, I had a dream I lost. I had a dream I lost a fight. And then that fear in my heart would make me go put on my running shoes and go run to 5:30 till that feeling was gone, or maybe even to 6, and whatever the case may be. But I would have to just run that fear out. But it was that thought that came to my mind of me having a result that I didn't want that sharpened my resolve.
Right.
So sometimes when you get those feelings, those thoughts that come in there, you got to use it all. You got to use it all. You got to use those imperfect thoughts to be like, okay, I got to get sharper. I got to tighten up, because when you tightened up, you don't have those thoughts.
Right.
You just like, I'm ready for it. And then when you do have those thoughts, you be like, all right, we'll see.
Right.
You'll be able to back them down a lot easier.
See, you had the courage to confront it.
Yeah.
So you have a high level of courage, and there are some people won't have the courage to confront that. That'll be the reason. Okay, detour.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. But so when people will seek comfort, because it isn't comfortable, let me go run for an hour. The comfortable thing, like, why this shit ain't worth it. Like I'm done. I ain't going to do this.
Yeah.
What do you tell people who seek comfort and don't have the courage to confront their fears, and they're just avoiding them or their doubts?
You gotta like my coach Greg Jackson used to say, you gotta seek comfort in the heart of danger. Uh-huh. And when you're able to seek comfort in the heart of danger, you want to go to the most dangerous spot.
Right.
And you want to be there because you understand in that dangerous spot, that's where you're going to be able to find the most success. Mm. That's when you're going to be able to tap into that thing of the greatness of yourself, because it's the fear that makes you sharp.
Right.
It's that feeling of being like, man, I got a lot riding on this, that makes you want to be like, all right, I need to tighten up. But it's when you go into it, it allows you to be more offensive. Mm-hmm. It allows you to be more proactive, because if I back away from it, now I'm on the defense.
Yeah.
And when I'm on the defense, I'm already 2 or 3 steps behind, because I could see that one blow coming, but I may not be able to see them all because I'm covering up.
Right.
And when you covering up and you don't want to look at it, that's when you get caught.
Yeah. So that's a great analogy between fighting and life. It's the same thing.
Yeah. You just got to go right into the heart of danger.
Right. So going in the heart of danger, it's almost like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? That's
exactly it. And that's the thing about it. Like when you find yourself being comfortable in the places where others are not,
right?
That's where you're going to find the most success, because what you find a lot of times is that people hate being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if you can find comfort in the space of an uncomfortable space, then you're ahead of everybody, because you're willingly allowing yourself, or you're willingly going to the place where you see others be like, oh man, it's too hard, I'm gonna turn away. And that will separate you from everybody else.
Right.
That's when you see the top athletes, the 1%ers, the guys who, are these blockbuster athletes. Those are the ones who will do what everybody else do. And they say, you know what? I'm going to make my own training routine that is so crazy, that is so volatile, that others will be so afraid to do it. And then you get the David Goggins, and you get the guys like that who are just these mental giants when it comes to this internal fortitude, because they love to test themselves. They love to bring themselves to the point where others turn away.
Right.
And that's where you find the success. That's where you find the success that's enduring, because the truth of the matter is, whether you achieve the goal or not, the success comes from you being able to say, man, I did it.
Right.
I was afraid, but I did it.
Right.
And so then you get another victory that doesn't have anything to do with the outcome of what you're focusing on.
Right. Yeah. You beat the best version of yourself.
You beat the best version of yourself. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, we get so caught up, right, in this life where it's dualistic, right? It's me, you, and everybody else, right? This dualistic understanding. But the truth of the matter is that everything is right here.
Yeah.
Life begins and ends right here.
Yes.
If I don't wake up in the morning then the world ceased to exist. If I don't make sense of what's in front of you, then what's in front of me, then the world doesn't make sense exist. So we have to be able to tap into that internal part. And I feel like our society pushes so much on everything on the outside that we tend to lose the perspective of the importance of being able to sit in the seat that we're sitting and own that seat that we're sitting. You know, own this perspective, be proud of this perspective, and understand that great things can come from this perspective. It's not always coming from the outside, but it's coming here first.
Right. Yeah, you don't need validation from the outside.
Right. It's got to be right here first, because validation from the outside is a trap unless you understand it here. Because if I'm seeking validation from the outside, I need you to help me feel a certain way about myself.
And you have no control over that.
You have no control. But the minute you stop giving me that currency, the minute you stop giving me that, now I feel I'm in disarray.
Right.
You know, I don't know how to feel about myself anymore.
Right. So when you think about competing and talk about validation from other people, but getting critics. So when you're competing and you're in a spotlight, you've got millions of people have an opinion about what's happening.
Yeah.
So while this all makes sense, but when we talk about it, but now in that situation, it's so amplified, you know, for us that are not in that spotlight, you know, you deal with like a family member, friend, or like a social media hater come in and give you some negativity. But now you're getting the doubt and the negativity from potentially millions of people in certain aspects. Oh, he's done or whatever. He's never going to win. How do you deal with that? How do you overcome that?
You know, I had the hardest time with that at first, because for me, like in the beginning of my career, they hated me. They booed me so much.
And why do you think that was?
I don't know. Like, you know,
you didn't talk a lot of shit.
Well, I was a bit of a trash talker. I was a bit of.
First of all, if for someone who wouldn't know you back then and watches you now, they could never believe it.
Yeah, never believe it. But I was a bit of a trash talker. I was one of those guys who would try to engage my opponent's ego.
You're trying to psych them out.
Trying to psych them out. So in order to engage that ego, I gotta talk some trash. So I wasn't liked a lot, and they would always boo me. And for the longest time, I had the hardest time. And then one day I was like, you know what? Let them boo me, because they're not booing me. They're booing the character who they think I am, right? And when I had to make that, when I divorced myself from that, I was able to handle it a lot better. But at the same time, it did bother me at a level. But whatever bothered me, I would use. I would use it.
Okay.
I would use it when I needed to, like for motivation, like when I'm running in the mountains and I feel like quitting, and then I'm like, yeah, you're going to quit, huh?
Oh, you're going to prove them right.
Prove them right. And it would drive me to go. So I appreciate it, but that's where I really started to learn, like, use it all.
Right.
You know, use it all, because all of it is happening to you because that's food for you.
Right.
That's sustenance for you. And it's what you need specifically for your journey. And each of us have a journey that we're on in life, and we all have different shortcomings. We all have different strengths. And the things that reflect in our life that are not so good, they're meant to be there to help us work on that area in our life that is not good.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we find ourselves in a cyclical pattern where we find ourselves going through the same things over and over and over again. But you got to be able to face it. You got to be able to be like, you know, I got to get to the bottom. I got to get to the root of it. But getting to the root of it is just, I got to face this uncomfortable thing. I got to face this monster. I got to, you know, take the mask off it and really, you know, put it in a way that allows me to face it without being afraid of what I might find on the other side.
Yeah. Do you think hearing some negativity and getting some hate is a good sign or a bad sign in life?
I think it's a good sign.
Yeah. And why do you think that?
Because you need it.
Yeah.
You need it. And you need it because, for one, if it bothers you, right? Why does that bother you?
Okay. Right.
Why does that bother you?
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes things bother us because it might hit on a little bit of truth or a little bit of something that we may be insecure about ourselves.
It can teach you something about yourself.
It can teach you something about yourself. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. You got to use it all. You got to use it all. And then once you use it and you understand what it is, then it doesn't hurt you, because when people say things that are not true, it doesn't bother you, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother you. But if there's something in you that feel like what they're saying is true, then it's definitely going to bother you.
Right. Or if it's not true and it still bothers you, why does it bother you?
Why does it bother you?
You're looking for validation from outside.
Exactly. And that's when you start to realize that you're never going to be able to control what anybody says. You're never going to be able to.
Right.
But that's the trap of caring about it. That's the trap of being like, being sensitive to it, is because, you start to care about it so much that it becomes your prison. You become imprisoned by it, and you never can get a hold of it. You never can. You're asking for something in which you'll never be able to contain.
Right. I'm going to ask you something interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Can you tap into the trash talking for a minute, even though that's not who you are anymore?
Okay.
All right. So if you and I were going to, all right, they just announced you and I are going to fight. Okay. And you can, just by my appearance, how would you get into talk some shit to me? How would you psych me out? I give you permission to say anything.
Okay. I mean, what I would say is, man, you look like you got some muscles, but I think they're all show muscles. I feel like you just like go to the beach and, trying to have a beach body. But at the end of the day, those little muscles, they're not going to be able to do anything for me. And then you got this neck that's kind of skinny, and it's not going to be able to take one punch. One punch from me is probably going to knock you out or knock you pretty easy. If not, then I'll be able to choke you pretty easy. So
yeah. See, already, I'd be like, fuck them, fuck this fight.
Well, I mean, because what I did was, I hit on your physical appearance, right? And obviously, if you take care of yourself, that's going to be something that you're proud of.
I value that.
You value it,
right?
So I started going for what you value,
right?
And then I would even talk about your haircut or something like that, or just talk about little things. And I'll see your neck.
My barber watches this. What talk shit about my hair? Talk about my haircut. Come on.
I mean, he does a good job, but I mean, he probably can, do a little bit better of fading, because I see like there's a little bit of, it's not as smooth as it could be. So I'm just playing, barber. I don't even got a haircut. So,
that's
but
awesome.
I mean, the point of the trash talking is to be able to say something that would definitely rouse them in a way where you're able to pick up on something that is definitely going to be able to get under their skin.
Yeah.
So I would start on something that you were proud of.
Right.
And then I would see how you responded to that.
Right.
And based on how you respond to that, I'll either go into that or maybe take a detour.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll talk about something else. Maybe I'll say, that's why I brought your neck up, because your arms are kind of big, but your neck is kind of skinny.
Yeah.
Right. But you know that.
Right.
So if you're insecure about that, you'll be like,
oh shit, I'm like, shit, I've been thinking about that. Now you got me going in home in the mirror, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be like, wait, do you think I got to work on my neck?
You gotta work on
Rashad said one shot, and I'm gonna be knocked out, and I don't want that to happen in a real fight.
That's what I'm saying.
Shit.
But that's how you started. That's why you started. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't like. Now
I would be distracted, right?
Yeah, you'll get to the point where I engaged your ego.
Yeah.
And that's all I need to do. Like when I'm fighting you, I want to engage your ego. I want to fight your ego, because your ego will allow you to be less calculated.
Right.
It allow you to forget about your game plan. It allow you to open up and throw punches wild and try to hurt me.
Right.
And those are easier to see. Yeah. So that's what I want. That's the guy I want to fight. Right. I don't want to fight the guy who's, showing no emotion, who's very calculated, who's very, into his, no mind at all, right?
He's in his zone.
He's in his zone. I don't want to fight that guy.
You don't want me to get in his zone.
No, I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want that.
Yeah, and that's that's the importance of the mental game in life. Like it's, you think that it's just a physical game in fighting, but what would you say? What percentage is mental and versus physical?
We used to say this a lot, before the fight, like I would say leading up to the fight, before fight week, right? It's 90% physical, right, and 10% mental. Okay. During fight week and before the fight, it becomes 90% mental and 10% physical. Right. So it switches. Yeah. But if you're not practicing with that gymnastics, what that flip is going to do, You know, when you switch the dichotomy around, it kind of throws you for a loop. And if you haven't been working on your mental game, when you all of a sudden just thrown into that mental space, you're like, you know, you're trying to solve a mental problem through physical means, through trying to, you know, either eat more or, you know, maybe you're warming up a little bit too much,
right?
You know, because on fight week, I'm not supposed to get a full workout in. I'm supposed to only get about 20 to 30 minutes in, the max, and then I'm supposed to shut it down.
It's just to maintain what you have and be like your body.
Yeah, so it's going to remind myself that I have a fight coming up, and it's going to be able to kind of feed that dopamine that I've been building up. You know, because after a while you start working out, you start feeling good when you work out, right? So you get trained to feel good when you work out. So it satisfies that dopamine level, that hit that you need. Yeah, but it keeps you. It reminds you of what you're getting ready to do. You're getting ready to fight, and you're getting ready to get into the cage where you don't know if you're going to feel this way after you get out of the cage. Like physically speaking, when I go into a cage to fight, I tell myself there's probably a good chance I'm not going to come out of this cage the way that I went in. And you have to be able to be okay with that. Right. You know, I've had, you know, this eye, had to have cataract surgery. You know, I've broken my thumb, had to have 2 ACL surgeries. And I've had a bunch of, you know, hurts along the way or little injuries along the way. But you never go into the fight, or you rarely go into the fight how you went in. Like sometimes I'll fight these 5-round fights and I'll be, you know, pissing blood for like 3 days afterwards. And that's just what you have to be able to put your mind through, that is going to happen to you. Right.
When that doesn't happen, it's just the exception.
It's just an exception, yeah.
And how do you know when to exit out of a career that's so physically demanding? And, you know, do you see guys wait too long? And how did you know?
It was hard. It was hard for sure. You know, I fought not too long ago. I fought about like a year and a half.
I saw that.
Yeah. So
you wanted to go out in a win.
I wanted to go out in a win. I needed to go out in a win. Just that's the ego part of me, right? I need to go out in a win. But it was.
And you could have picked me and it would have been a guarantee.
With that skinny neck and all that.
Yeah. Just 2 seconds.
No, but you know, for me, when I started fighting, right, it was such a natural part of my expression. It was such a part of who I was as a person that it was easy for me. It was so easy for me to fight to the point where I was fighting 2 to 3 guys a night. I would fight in these tournaments, and it was before the UFC or MMA was sanctioned all over the place, and it was called NHB. It was called No Holds Barred. Right. You know, and I was fighting during that time, and we'll fight on these, you know, reservations. We'll fight on these, you know, these smoker halls. And a lot of times when I would jump in there, I would jump in on these tournaments and I'll fight 2 to 3 guys a night. And it was very easy for me. Right. But then, because fighting was everything to me, and life was just on the outside was just a little accent that I added to fighting. But fighting was the most important thing to me. And it's all I thought about. Somewhere along the line through life, it kind of hit the switch on me. Life became more important than fighting. And it became harder for me to fight. It became harder for me to fight because not only was I seeing life differently, but some of the traumatic experiences I had in the cage, getting knocked out, having the setbacks, having an understanding of what's on the other side of a fight in the cage. Understanding that I may go into this fight feeling one way and then come out another. That became a harder realization for me. Right. As I realized that life on the outside was bigger than life in the cage. So I had to make peace with that. I had to make peace with the fact that, man, I really can't do this forever. And damn, this thing is even happening to me. This thing that says old age, right? Yeah. Oh, it's happening to me. Right. It's even happening to me. And I always thought that maybe I'll be impervious to the rule, right? Maybe I'll be an exception of the rule. You know, maybe the sun won't go down on me, but the sun goes down on us all. And when fighting became hard for me, that's when I knew it was time to step away.
Right.
But it's different for everybody because what the fight does for you, it makes you like an addict.
Yeah.
It makes you a junkie to the feeling
Right.
that you have of just, you know, being able to ride that emotional roller coaster, right? Yeah. Go through all that doubts, go through all the highs and the lows of everything you go through before you step into the cage. And then you go through the cage. And then you have the fight of your life. And then you get your hand raised.
Oh, it's very
And
addictive.
you're just like, oh, I did it.
Right.
Because there's a part of you that doubted yourself. There was a part of you that thought maybe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. Right. But then you did it. And that feeling right there, it makes you higher than anything in the world. And that feeling is an addiction. And if you get addicted to that feeling, because when you're walking out, right, it's funny because your senses, the 5 senses, they seem to kind of melt into one. And it's like an unbelievable, almost feels like a psychedelic experience in a sense, because, you know, the sound has a taste.
Okay.
You know, and
sure.
and you know, the lights has a frequency, is loud, is the volume, you know, and it's weird because you're so close and you're on the line and you're going to that space where you're of no mind at all.
Right.
All of those senses kind of merge into one, and that feeling is euphoric. It's an amazing feeling, and it keeps you wanting to get back on that roller coaster just to feel that crowd, just to feel that fear, just to feel you triumph over it one more time.
So did you tire of it mentally or physically? What was it? Was it just both?
It was both. It was both, but I feel like I tired out mentally before I tired out physically. Okay. I felt as if, like, you know, after I hurt my ACL in 2014.
Did you hurt it or injure it?
Good question. I injured it. I had 2 ACL surgeries. So, and I had them back to back.
Yeah.
So I had it in 2014, the beginning of 2014, and I thought I was healed. And then I injured it again at 2014. And then I had to sit out again till 2016. So I sat out for so long, but it gave me a peek into what it was going to be like when it was all over. Right. And it kind of threw me for a loop. And it kind of started to have my brain start going in the direction of, like, what was it all for? You know, I started to get a little bit more existential with my thought pattern and started to really digest things in my life in which I just really wasn't digesting at the time. You know, I had a divorce when I was in, like, you know, the main part of my career, and it was something that I was able to manage and push through because I was always so busy. But when I had that time to sit down and think about everything, it hit me in a different way. Yeah. And a lot of things hit me in a different way at that point, but it was something that, you know, it sent me on a trajectory to see everything that I was doing in a different light. Yeah. And I feel like that was the beginning of the end.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The beginning of the end and a new beginning.
And a new beginning, because there really is no ends. It's only just new beginnings all the time, right?
That's right. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. Like, totally awesome. And full transparency, Rashad was giving me a hard time before we started recording because I was talking about getting injuries in sports. And he said to me, did you get hurt or were you injured? And I said, that's a good question.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the things that I tell my guys all the time. You know, I have my godson that I coach. His name is Devin Smith. My nephew Lance Evans and Xander Heim that I all coach. And when I'm talking to these guys, that's how I'm talking to them. I'm like, okay, are we hurt? Are we injured? What we doing? You know, but I feed them that mental aspect of everything. Right. You know, I try to really tap into that mental, engage them on a mental level, because I know physically speaking, they probably can do it. They got what it takes physically speaking, but this game is more than about just being physically fit.
Yes.
There's a savagery that you have to be able to tap into.
Yeah, gladiator.
Yeah, it's a gladiator, and you have to be able to tap into it, but you have to be able to be mentally tough.
Yeah.
And mentally just be able to deal with everything that you have to deal with as a fighter.
Yeah. So like, what you're thinking and what you're saying, you have to be very intentional. Like,
Yeah.
If you're thinking you just hurt, okay, I'm thinking, I'm hurt, but I'm hurt. I'm thinking that, but that means I can keep going.
Right.
It hurts.
Yeah.
Versus, okay, I'm injured. I need to heal.
Right.
So it's very intentional about being specific. What are you really?
Yeah.
And, I think about that in life all the time, like being really careful with the words you're thinking and the words you're saying, because they really friggin' matter.
Yeah. Words have so much power, and it's hard to really wrap your mind around it, right? Because these words, they come out so free, so easy sometimes, and you don't really think about the ramifications of these words. But I mean, words are the founding basis for matter.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it. And when you have more intent in what you say and you speak with that kind of understanding, then you realize that through your words and through speaking carefully, you are able to really construct the reality that you want.
Yeah. Couple things, Rashad. One, the mushrooms, right? So I'm taking as a supplement reishi. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, reishi.
Reishi. I'm not pronouncing it right. So for me, I read about it having some mental benefits in terms of mental health, with helping with stress or anxiety. And I've had anxiety issues when I was younger, so I'm always being conscious of that. But that's something that a lot of people aren't aware of, the health benefits of functional mushrooms.
Yeah. Functional mushrooms are so powerful because they're adaptogens, and they give your body specifically what you need. And each of us have different things that we're ailing from, and we have different things that our body needs to be set on course to. So being able to find whatever mushroom works best for you and what you're ailing is very beneficial. You have lion's mane for cognitive health, and it's also good for the gut and brain barrier access. And it's got so many other great benefits as well, but the cognitive issues is really what lion's mane is for. And then you have the cordyceps. The cordyceps are really good for respiratory health, but they also are finding that it's really good for brain and concussions and things like that. Then you have the turkey tail, which is really good for your gut. Gut health is one of the most important things, because not only is your mood, your mood receptors and everything is in your gut, but also, it's good for having healthy bacteria. When you have the healthy bacteria, it allows your body to break down food a lot better. And a lot of things that we have is gut issues, and the gut issues cause a lot of other issues like anxiety and depression and all those kind of things. Reishi is good for overall body rest and recovery. And, you have shiitake as well. That's really good for hair and nails. So you have a bunch of different ones. And these are just 5 that I named, but the functional mushroom kingdom, or as Jake Plummer says, the queendom, is truly a magnificent one. The mushroom is a whole food kingdom in which we're not eating. And because there's such a adaptogenic nature to these mushrooms, it does wonders for your body. When it comes in neurological health, what we call old age is nothing more than neuropathy. As we get older, right? We just neurologically start to slow down a little bit, and that's due to environmental hazards, foods and things that we eat in our body that kind of gunks up our neurological body. But when you start to get on with these functional mushrooms, they do a really good job of kind of revamping that and just bringing your body back aligned to health. They help your body out in ways that they're still yet to discover. Out of all the things that we know about functional mushroom, we only know about 10% of what there is to know.
Wow.
So there's a lot of good information that these mushrooms can do some amazing things for healing the body when it comes to cancers and all these other things. And that's been studied in Chinese traditional medicine that has a huge, thousands of years of research and understanding. There are doctors out there, they actually prescribe mushrooms for health ailments and things like that. So Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, they do such a great job of exploring what these mushrooms can do. And I feel like they've really done a good job of laying out a path of how we should follow and how we should supplement mushrooms into our bodies. And if you want to find a great place to get mushrooms,
where do we learn more? Yes.
Well, you can go to umbo.com, getumbo.com, getumbo, umbo.com.
Great.
And it's myself, Jake the Snake Plummer, the quarterback that used to play for the Denver Broncos, Arizona State alumni, great guy, and Del Jolly. And, all three of us, we've founders in the company, and functional mushrooms have changed all of our lives. And we just want to be able to package something and make it so that it can help people out too, because there's a lot of mushrooms in that space of functional mushrooms, but we wanted to really bring something that had a more of an athletic side to it, to really showcase where me and Jake was coming from.
That's great.
Yeah.
So on that website, there's product supplement where you can supplement with your daily diet, right? Yeah,
we have tinctures. We have this delicious bar, and that has like 500 milligrams of turkey tail, reishi, lion's mane, and cordyceps in it. And we have these capsules that are for like AM and PM.
Right.
And the AM is like for, you can work out with it pre-workout. And we also have something new to the scene. We have these drinks now. These drinks are, have mushrooms in it, but not only that, it has salts in it too. So it's really good at rehydrating the body.
Like an electrolyte.
Yeah, electrolytes. Nice. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's all about being able to make mushrooms easy enough to understand for the average person to understand how to use them and when to use them.
Great.
So that's what we try to do at Umbo.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
So, and if our listeners want to find you on social media, what's the best way to reach out to you?
They can reach out to me on Instagram, Sugar Rashad Evans, at Sugar Rashad Evans, and also on Twitter at Sugar Rashad Evans as well too. I will respond, so you can write to me and I will hit you back. Nice. I'm not one of those guys who be like, forget everybody. I'll reach out.
That doesn't surprise me. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, Steve.
All right.
That's all for today's Steve Lags Unfiltered journey. Keep soaring, leading, and conquering with us. Remember, it's not just about listening. It's about learning and taking action. If today ignited your drive, join us next time for more unfiltered wisdom. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review to fuel your success journey. Also, be sure to listen to us on your favorite podcast channel or outlet. Stay tuned, stay unfiltered, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Boom.